it's Zach, also known as Trading Aloha on Twitter. Today I want to give a brief overview of Fableborne, which is another one of the up-and-coming games on the Avalanche blockchain. Fableborne is a free-to-play and play-to-own multiplayer game that combines elements of base building and also action RPG style. The focus of Fableborne is to put these two things together on a mobile platform that you can do in short sessions pretty much anywhere at any time. To get an idea of the concept of the game, let's take a look at the official trailer.
The Shatterlands, a realm brimming with might, magic, and mystery. At its epicenter, the all-seeing Esperwood. But beyond, the twisting ether, the arena of the world. Here, competition in the name of fame and glory runs rampant. Observe. The Shatterlands brim with as much beauty as they do danger. Will you fight and become Fableborne?
So as we've seen kind of in the trailer, the Shatterlands, which is the world that takes place inside Fableborne, is composed, of those floating islands that you can raid on both PvE and PvP. The lore behind it is basically, like the floating islands are around an ethereal tree known as Esperwood, and you can use the what they call the Echo of Slumbering Heroes as playable characters that you use to raid other players' islands for resources in both PvP and PvE battles, which gives you the opportunity to kind of play, wherever you want, however you want, in both, PvE events or PvP tournaments, as time allows. And kind of as we see here, you have a bunch of different ways of upgrading any of your heroes, which I think is really interesting to do as far as, time management. A lot of these games we see you have to dedicate a ton of time and skill and research into what the best meta is. And if you don't have the, 4 to 6 hours to play every single day, you're either going to get wiped out by, the pay to win players, or you just aren't going to be competitive and have a chance to really enjoy the game. And I think the way that the Fableborne team approached this here is really interesting, and we'll kind of talk about that. So within each of the playable characters, there's 4 factions that you can control, and each of those has their own kind of skill tree that you can follow to upgrade your character. And here's just a quick look at the gameplay pillars that Fableborne kind of built there, or Fableborne is built around. Explore, accessibility, build, rating, upgrade, trade, compete, and real rewards. And I think some of the ones here are pretty self-explanatory. But I did want to touch on the compete section, where you compete against real players in what they're calling snackable sessions. So you can play this on your lunch break, in public transportation, after dinner, pretty much anywhere, anytime, to give you the chance to compete in the high-risk, high-reward tournaments with real values. And this kind of opens up a different avenue for esports competitions as well, because you don't have to be this professional player, as we kind of talked about, that does this, for hours upon hours. You can just, if you're good and you enjoy playing the game, you can compete in these tournaments as your time allows, which, in other games, you can't do that when you're just, in a quick 15 to 20 minute break. There's just no chance to play those events. So I think this is a fantastic thing that can set this game apart from almost every other game out there, especially when it comes to the tournament aspect of it. But I also do like, the upgrade and trade abilities, because it's a play to own game instead of play to earn or pay to win. So you can play it at your own pace and just enjoy the game for what it's supposed to be. And as we saw in the trailer, the game kind of takes place on these floating islands, and when you arrive into the game with your hero, you basically can explore the islands that are available to you, and those can be either owned by NPCs or real players, and what they are depends on exactly how the game plays out. So you challenge other players to these PvP events to see who controls the island. You've got to counter to the defensive structures. You got to dodge projectiles in real time from the fortify towers, and basically, but you want to take out the heart of the island, as you can kind of see at the bottom of their light paper here. It determines how much life is left on the island. And the way the games are controlled, as we'll kind of show, is made in a really simple way that it's very easy to pick up for almost anybody who wants to download it in the mobile arena. It's very simple, very self-explanatory, and just allows you to just jump right into the game and play without having to worry about reading all of these dynamic and detailed controls, which I really do enjoy for one of the games entering the space. And one of the key components to upgrading your hero, which I think is going to be very interesting because of how many different ways there are, is basically to upgrade your heroes, you got to unlock talents, which are passive traits, and those enhance your hero's attributes. As we've seen in most kind of RPG games, you can bump up your hit points or movement speed or attacks or ultimate abilities. Pretty much anything and everything you can upgrade with these talents and make your attributes a little bit stronger. So every hero that you get in game comes with a pre-generated list of talents, but the order of those talents is completely random. So you've got to make your decision on each hero on which way you want to go to unlock those abilities. And I think, with the sheer amount of different ways there are with all the heroes, there's millions of different combinations that you can come up with. So the game can continue to evolve. You can continue to enjoy, different ways of playing the game, and it's just an interesting way to do it because I think there are different things you can do in game that the meta will just be continually changing, because if there's that many different millions of varieties, there's going to be different setups for both PvP and PvE events, as well as the kind of the esports tournaments. And one of the key components also is it's going to remain free to play. So your hero can eventually be not so much killed, but it fades to the point where it can't be used for rating or upgrading. So you basically, to revive your Echo in game, you have to use the currency. But if you're doing the free to play model, it'll lose all its previously selected talents, but it'll start with a little bit more attributes, so it improves the ultimate overall end game potential. And each of those echoes comes with 3 different variety of rarities: common, rare, and epic. But inside those, they plan to offer an additional rarity, which will be part of the revival system. So I'm going to pay attention to that as kind of the game develops into its actual launch to see how those things change over time. But I do like how the team is forward-looking and already looking at things they can do to add to the game once it's launched. And one of the other things I wanted to highlight as we kind of work through our light paper is how I talked about the accessibility and ease of play. It's designed for mobile, and as you can see kind of on the screen, it's real simple. You got your left hand that will use the movement key with your thumb, and your other thumbs you got special ability, basic attack, and ultimate ability, all within reach, so you're not having to pack and move your hands all over the screen to play the game. It's set up really simple in isometric perspective, basically a 90-degree camera view with dual stick controls. Can't get any easier than that. And I love how it's a simplistic design that allows anyone to just jump in and play right away. And Pixion made that one of their core pillars as they kind of built this out over the last 15 to 18 months as the game developed into what it is today. They kept that as one of their main pillars as their end state. And because of that, on mobile, it's really easy to get confused or distracted, or especially if you're looking at games that are streaming. There's so much going on screen, it can be overwhelming to newer players as well as distracting to people who are watching the game. So what they did is they made it what they call the important aspect of readability, which basically means that you can understand what's going on in the game before it happens, and there's not too much going on the screen. So since Fableborne is an action-oriented RPG, you need to be able to dodge all the incoming shots and attacks that are going on screen, and they made sure that each of these is well telegraphed in advance, so the person has time to see it developing on screen and then react to it without having so much going on where they can't tell what's coming next or what they're supposed to do to survive. And then just taking a look at the in-game economy as they kind of lay it out inside their light paper, it's basically an interesting loop that we've seen where you can gain resources and in-game currency through a variety of different ways. You can do it through scouting, where you discover islands. In those islands, you participate in raids, in which you can increase the protection level of your building, upgrade your building, improve the production of your islands, and then those islands will produce and store your resources that are developed, which then can either be lost to other players raiding your island, or you can use those resources to upgrade both your heroes or on equipment to upgrade your heroes, and also spend on scouting out new islands to send your heroes to attack and discover, and then that completes the loop, and it can go around and around and around. So a variety of ways here to kind of play the game. You can focus on building a defense of your island, or you can be one of those guys that just goes out, tries to discover as many places as possible, and take over the weakest island to build your resources and upgrade your hero. And I think as this develops out, I think we'll see different ways to approach this and build out a different way to play the game. And then similar to other play to own models is basically the NFT that you're using for your hero can be sold and bought on the marketplace, and you can use that in-game currency that will be FAB to upgrade your NFT. And then of course you can always sell that upgraded NFT on the market to other people, and then as well using that NFT hero in tournaments, rating, and sale is the way you can generate additional income from either through ladder play or just through rating and PvE. So how are they going to make their game sustainable? They plan to introduce staking metrics to provide long-term incentives for people to hold their token, kind of as we've seen other games do. But they will mainly keep it as a game-focused reward. So I kind of like to see this in most of the newer games coming out. It's more focused on the fun and the game aspect of it, and not so much on the DeFi part. Because ultimately, the only way that Web3 is going to be successful is if people enjoy playing the game. Sure, it's nice to have that additional component of earning on the side, but it doesn't need to be some like ridiculous number where people are just playing it to dump as soon as they accumulate any of the in-game currency. I think the team's done a good job here making sure the focus has always remained on the game itself, and it being fun to play, free to play, and play to own, as opposed to play to earn. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out and how it's received by the community, since it is a mobile first game that's really easy and simple to play, but also looks like it could be really fun. So what's next on the roadmap for Fableborne? As you can kind of see in their light paper that they keep updated, they're moving through all of their phases pretty well. They've already moved from phase 1 into phase 3 over the last 15 months or so. Right now, they're working on the alpha launch and building the community programs, all of which you can find over on their Twitter or in their Discord. And then in phase 4, you're going to see their Echoes of Hero pre-sale, public sale, the marketplace launch, and the Pixion League reveal, which will be some of those tournaments that you can play and that have those additional rewards. So you can find out a ton of information if you bounce on over to their Twitter page, where they continue to keep things updated. They show sneak peeks and previews of the different islands that you can see in the different areas, which I think are very well detailed, and I look forward to exploring those as well. There's also interviews and AMAs with the team that are extremely interesting and gives you additional insight on what the team's thinking as they've gone about their development process. They ran a great playtest in early to mid-October that was very well received. And I think one of the important things is as the game develops is the interaction with the community. And what we've seen, the Fableborne team do is they've taken some feedback, and they've posted polls both in Discord and on Twitter on what you would like to change or add into the game. And they're going to go ahead and try to implement those the best they can. So once they took their last one, they wanted better controls, which I thought was interesting because the game has very simple controls, but I think they were just a little, they weren't calibrated and as easy as everyone expected them to be. So that was one of the top things that they want to work on so they don't interrupt the gameplay. So they're going to work on these things as well. And then they also asked, how difficult was it to control? And as most people said, it was easy. I think the issue was kind of the camera view and the animation. That was the issue. So they're still going to work on ways to improve that. And then, of course, which heroes do you like the best? And the Frost Mage was by far the favorite at 44%. And you can see all those characters and different quizzes and voting that they did to improve the game. And please feel free to jump into the Discord and participate. I've been poking my head in there. They're always accessible and available to interact with, and they're extremely nice and easy to get along with. And I think that just makes for a great community building arena as the game kind of gets closer to launch. And I think that's very important. And I think we've seen that in a lot of the, games on Avalanche that are launching soon. The teams have made sure that building a community is almost as important as how fun the game is to play, because the two go hand in hand together, especially given the current climate. Nobody wants to be involved with a toxic team or a team that doesn't take the community's input and at least consider it. And I think the team does a great job of doing that, as well as continuing to push updates out on the game regularly so people know what's going on with the timeline. And if you want a quick view of kind of everything that went on in the pre-alpha, which includes all of those metrics that we kind of talked about, you can find that over on their Medium, which they keep extremely updated, which is one of the things that other games I think have not done. They all start a Medium, but it kind of falls off as we get further along in production. The Fableborne team has been producing updates quite regularly and in very good detail. So we'll drop a link to the Medium down below, but I think it's worth a read just to see how the game was received during the pre-alpha in October and what they're going to do to kind of approach some of those issues that they identified. And then, of course, you can jump into their Discord or jump into Twitter to find out their latest updates, and we'll drop all those links down in the description. So I hope this was helpful as kind of a quick overview of Fableborne. If it is, please give us a like and subscribe. That helps the algorithm out and helps us produce additional content on Avalanche and gaming, and keeps everybody moving forward in this bear market. And I hope that this helped out a little bit, and I hope you have a great week.